Walk down the toy aisle now and you'd think wrestling figures require a mortgage application. Window boxes, collector-grade packaging, alternate heads, swappable hands, limited chase variants that vanish faster than a surprise Royal Rumble entrant. Modern lines for WWE look less like toys and more like museum exhibits waiting for climate control. And we're not bashing adult collectors. I myself snagged a great Muta figure not too long ago, but these figures were born for kids to mash together while yelling entrance themes wildly off-key. Collectors may keep them mint, but their souls want to be drop-kicked, which makes it weird when some highly questionable toys are released. I'm Senor Siete for 7 Rest, and let's take a look at 7 WWE toys that were super inappropriate. Number 1, Bear It All. In the late 90s, Beanie Babies weren't toys, they were retirement plans with button eyes, fueled by artificial scarcity and the velvet-voiced hype machine of Ty Incorporated and its wizard behind the curtain, founder Ty Warner. Tiny plush critters became speculative assets, parents hoarded bears in plastic cases like they were gold bullion with whiskers. Then came the knockoffs, grocery stores, gas stations, that one weird mall kiosk. Everyone birthed their own floppy animal with a heart-shaped tag. The market flooded, the magic evaporated. Suddenly, the college fund was worth roughly $3 and a lesson in herd psychology. Capitalism, but make it cuddly. Of course, WWE never saw a cash grab they didn't grab. Enter the WWE Attitude Bears, and wow, are these things lazy, just bears of various colors with a WWE superstar's name sewn into the front. I mean, the Mankind Bear isn't wearing a Mankind mask, it just says Mankind. I mean, at least some of them have catchphrases on the back, so some of them just have the old scratch logo. I would pay for a Godfather bear that says Pimpin' Ain't Easy or, Pimpin' Ain't Bearable. Oh, that was terrible. Don't worry, it gets worse, because right next to the bear that's meant to represent the WWE's wrestling adult star Val Venus, we have the Sable Attitude Bear, inspired by her body paint performance that got her disqualified from a bikini contest at Fully Loaded 1999. This plush oddity features handprints splashed across the chest area like it had just walked through a midlife crisis at a screen printing factory. And honestly, since this is a bear, shouldn't those have been bear paws? I don't want to think about it too much. Anyways, it was less cuddly keepsake and more HR violation in beanie form. Number 2, Bobble Buddies. When you have one man with an Olympic gold medal and another built like a linebacker who was bit by a radioactive powerlifter, you get something special. The WrestleMania 19 main event between Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle was like watching a science experiment collide with a demolition derby. Angle's technical wizardry and Lesnar's brutal power created the rare chemistry where every bump feels earned and every near fall has drama. They even capped it off with an Iron Man match later that year that's still talked about like a high watermark for pure in-ring storytelling. It was athletic, unpredictable, and wildly entertaining. However, the most bizarre SmackDown souvenir of 2003 wasn't a signed belt or a limited edition t-shirt. It was when Brock decided a handshake was too boring and instead, as Kurt Angle would say, grabbed my face and kissed me right on the lips. That's how he remembers it, laughing on his podcast. He would say, "It shocked the shit out of me, man. Of all people to do it, Brock Lesnar?" Angle says they had killed it in the ring and were both babyfaces at the time, so after the match, Lesnar's prank kiss was, let's call it, enthusiastic. Angle would even admit, "I started questioning if Brock really liked me or not. It's one thing to body slam someone, it's another to lip lock him. Classic ruthless aggression era weirdness. But would explain this bobblehead. We kid. We know that that's an abdominal stretch, right, fellas? Right? Now, maybe you wonder how something like this gets through the QA process, and that's going to be a popular theme in this video. Oh, well, a deeply traumatizing bobblehead really only happens once, or maybe twice, right? Chris Jericho and Triple H? Wait, 3 times? Edge and Jeff Hardy? Oh, look at Edge's smile. Rated R indeed. At any rate, we're pretty sure this would be the last time the WWE would release a bobblehead that was wildly in up number 3. Bobble Boss. The late 90s, early 2000s diva shtick, you got sexed up angles, kisses, and objectified spots, always felt like Vince McMahon was staging a casting call for Golden Bachelor Titan Tower Edition. Former WWE writer Vince Russo once admitted in an interview with Wrestle Buddy that he found it kind of strange, even creepy, how McMahon booked himself in sexual angles with the female talent, saying it felt like he was getting off on it. Yeah, you think? Oh, geez. Also, that might be the longest Vince Russo quote ever that didn't have the word bro in it. Vince didn't just play a villain, he embodied the creepy boss stereotype on live TV. And we like to keep these videos relatively short. We appreciate that, we're all busy folks. So we're going to try to keep this list to a minimum just to get the point across. In 2001, he forced Trish Stratus to strip, crawl, and bark like a dog in front of millions of people, a stunt even some WWE vets called degrading. Another time, he kissed Stratus in front of his real-life wife while she was supposedly comatose in a wheelchair. And let's not forget the old-school Kiss My Ass Club, where he made talent smooch his rear end. Because kayfabe meant zero boundaries. Seeing those old segments now lands differently when McMahon had to step down from the company amid a federal lawsuit alleging sexual misconduct and trafficking. Years of hush-money settlements to keep accusations quiet. What once looked like cheesy, fun TV now reads like executive theater with a bad script. Begs the question, were these fun, edgy moments just storytelling, or was the man shaping them watching from his office with a grin that wasn't all kayfabe? Either way, with all we know now, maybe it isn't shocking that this is the bobblehead that he approved. Like, seriously? Oh, who bought this thing? I mean, if you did, you're probably on a government list right now. Rightfully so. Now, if you're enjoying this video, maybe you're learning something you probably didn't want to know. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and nudge that notification bell. That is the absolute best way to see what kind of random stuff we're going to be up to next. Number 4, Top Rope Ranch. The Unmatched Fury line from WWE wasn't just action figures, it was frozen chaos in plastic form. While most wrestling toys stood there like they were waiting for a bus, Unmatched Fury figures looked like they'd been paused mid-finisher. Whether it was HBK's mid-double bicep pose, Rey Mysterio performing the 619, or JBL like standing there, that's very on brand. Each sculpt felt like a snapshot of the character's personality. Your shelf display suddenly looked less like a toy collection and more like a pay-per-view about to explode. Which brings us to Jeff Hardy, someone whose career has always felt like someone handed conventional wrestling a paintbrush and a pogo stick and said, hey, do whatever feels weird and dangerous, dude. His in-ring style is best described as thrill junkie meets abstract expressionism, high-flying, death-defying maneuvers that made you gasp, cheer, then Google whether human bodies are actually designed for this. Those ladders, merely obstacles, they were launch pads for the Swanton Bomb and other chaos-wrapped geometry problems. Then there's the look, paint-splattered face and body art he created himself as a moving canvas of rave or punk vibe meets pro wrestling cosplay, because why settle for traditional when you can be a walking mood ring? Hardy isn't just unique for the sake of it, he's the guy who turned, this is a terrible idea, into signature moves and a legacy. So, what would his Unmatched Fury pose be? The double finger guns, the finger pointing dance. No, it's him, mid-swanton, which in practice looks pretty cool. But in a box on a shelf, it looks kinda dirty. Look at my crotch, look right at my crotch. I'm sorry about that. Also, it doesn't look great, just lying on a shelf. Oof. Number 5, Shake It Off. Wrestling action figures have always asked one bold question: what if realism, but louder? Over the years, toy lines from WWE and beyond decided simple articulation was for cowards. Kids didn't just want a suplex, they wanted a button that launches an elbow with the force of a garage door spring. Remember the era of bone-crunching torsos and limbs that made every slam sound like someone stepping on celery? Or the stretch-arm figures that turned grappling into low-grade medieval torture simulation? Other installed voice chips so your plastic hero could yell catchphrases at 3 a.m. when the battery started dying, because nothing says childhood trauma quite like a muffled "let's get ready" from under the bed. Subtlety tapped out early, because sometimes you needed to give the rockers hunchbacks so they could jump. These weren't toys, they were kinetic experiments disguised as sports entertainment. And yet, we loved them, because if wrestling is controlled chaos, the toys decided control was optional. Then World Championship Wrestling did the most WCW thing possible. They thought action, they thought action figures needed vibration motors because nothing says sports entertainment like a plastic wrestler that buzzes like a malfunctioning toothbrush. A malfunctioning toothbrush or something else. These collectible oddities were not subtle. You squeezed a big red button, and suddenly your Hulk Hogan or your Sting figure was trembling so hard it looked like it had existential dread about its life choices. Kind of makes you wonder what the design meeting was like. Just sitting there and be like, should our figure simulate, power or like a caffeine binge or, some other kind of binge? Yes, instead of enhancing moves, the motors just made things shake. Imagine setting up a whole ring scene only to realize the main attraction quivered like leftover jello whenever you tried to pose him. They were not innovative. They were not fun. They were what happens when someone misunderstands not only electronics, but also wrestling choreography. The WCW vibrating figures didn't rock the plastic world so much as they gave YouTube channels endless supplies of jokes. And for that, we're eternally grateful. Number 6, Party Foul. In the gloriously weird world of collectible figures, there exists a subgenre called party figures. These are the collectibles where sculpted underwear exists, but the paint team apparently clocked out early. The result, heroes who look ready for battle from the waist up and oddly drafty from the waist down. One infamous example is Party Angela from the Spawn line, whose early figures sometimes forgot that one swipe of paint that would make this commando look like she wasn't going commando. Whether it was budget shortcuts, factory misfires, or overly ambitious sculpt detail, the effect was the same. Collectors doing a double take in the toy aisle. You got a mist layer here, a skip spray there, and suddenly your elite warrior looks like they lost a bet at Comic-Con. And you know what? The wrestling world was not immune to this accidental phenomenon. The elusive Stephanie McMahon Sunday Night Heat figure became famous not for its articulation or its sassy little pose, but for missing the most basic article of action figure clothing paint. And wow, for a company that supposedly went PG to keep Mattel happy, it is interesting to see that Jax was keeping it a hard R. Best of all, it didn't just happen to like some random diva, This wasn't like a Jacqueline figure. It literally happened to the boss's daughter. Although, if he approved this, maybe the team at Jax didn't get into too much trouble. Fortunately, this would be the very last time a toy company would forget to clothe one of their action. Number 7, wardrobe reduction. In the late 1990s, when WWE's creative department was collectively asking how weird can we possibly get, Mark Henry answered with one of the most questionable personas in wrestling memory. Of course, talking about sexual chocolate wasn't just a name, it was an entire attitude, a swagger-infused, Barry White-esque ladies' man who strutted to the ring and flirted like a romance novelist at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Henry himself would say of the run, "Oh, sexual chocolate, I got to go out every week and make a fool of myself and play with the ladies in the crowd." Well, not just the ladies. And it worked some of the time in that this is so absurd it's entertaining kind of way, but looking back, the eroticized gimmick was a bizarre fit for a burly strongman champion. Vince McMahon reportedly loved it, which, probably is not surprising to any of you. There were some absolutely unforgettable angles involving Mae Young and a baby hand, the aforementioned Sammy, and even him admitting to having an affair with his own sister. And no, I'm sorry, by unforgettable, I meant in the same way the Challenger explosion was unforgettable. And yeah, Mark and his sister, yet another example of Vince's absolute kind of favorite angle. Also, fun fact, the rumor was always that this outrageous gimmick was all a ploy to get him to quit and leave the WWE and let him out of the massive contract they had signed him to, but we weren't able to find any actual truth to that rumor. Now, shockingly, he would survive the character purgatory and become a big old bruiser, even winning the World Heavyweight Championship. But it was a little odd when the WWE would release this figure of the curator of the Hall of Fame years after the sexual chocolate gimmick had ended. Now, since his debut, this guy has always worn some kind of like singlet. He'd never wrestled in the tiniest underwear of all time, but the 2009 Royal Rumble Mark Henry figure apparently skipped the whole outfit step and went straight to undies level intensity, as if someone in the factory said, "You know what would make this guy scarier? Way less fabric." We have to think this had to be some kind of a production error, someone asleep at the wheel, because the figure on the back of the package is wearing his trademark singlet, but given his previous gimmick, sexual chocolate, it is kind of on brand. Alright, can you think of any other WWE toys that were super inappropriate? If so, please let us know in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. Just one little clickety-click. We'd love to see you again. Till next time, I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.